Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be looking at a band I've not heard of before. This one has actually been sitting on my computer for a little while now. It's a video that popped up on my YouTube suggested feed a while back, and I thought, you know what, I'll give that a look, and it's just sort of sat there and I've not gotten around to it until now for some reason, and I don't know why. But anyway, we're going to be looking at a band called Celtian, or Celtian. Not sure how to pronounce it. I'm going to go with Celtian for now. It's probably wrong. If anybody knows, please correct me. Now, obviously, with it being a band I've never heard of before, tried to look up some information on the band, and I didn't really find very much, but what I found was kind of useful. It says, Celtian is a folk metal band from Spain, founded in 2017 by the flautist Diego Palacio and lead vocalist Zana Levy. Their sound is strongly inspired by bands that mix heavy metal with folk European folk music, such as bands like Illuvite and Cellar Darling. Now, I've covered Illuvite and Cellar Darling on here before. I've covered Cellar Darling quite extensively, and I really enjoy their music, and I really enjoyed Illuvite as well when I checked them out. Although, I think their lineup has changed somewhat since I last listened to them, so I might have to revisit them one day. But anyway, you know, I like that sort of folk metal inspired sort of combination. I've covered several different several other different bands that have combined folk and metal as well. So I'm curious to see what this band is like, because I really do enjoy that. You know, I love the unusual use of instruments, you know, like in Cellar Darling. I mean, in one of the Cellar Darling songs I checked, they had a hurdy-gurdy solo, you know, and then they've got instruments like violins and stuff like that, and as you can see up there, you know, I'm learning to play the violin. I've got my two violins up there at the moment, waiting for a third one. But anyway, you know, I love the sound of those sorts of instruments. So, yeah, I'm very interested to have a look at what this band has to offer. Now, like I said, the band is from Spain, and the track we're going to be looking at today is a track called Maleficio De Sangre, which, as I understand, means blood curse. Now, I did hunt for some lyrics for the band, and they were all the lyrics were in Spanish. So I looked around for translation, couldn't really find any that seemed to agree, so I translated the lyrics and sort of came to a happy medium, you know, and, you know, I've got the lyrics here, a translation in English. If they're not accurate, I do apologise. I tried my best, you know, sometimes it can work really well, sometimes it can be absolutely diabolically bad, sometimes you get the odd line that doesn't make sense, but we'll see. So, you know, we'll get a general idea of what the song itself is about. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this, but before we do that, if you could take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already, it would really help me out. You know, I've been doing this for a little over 6 years now, and as it stands, barely even 2% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, and that's a little bit disheartening. But, so, yeah, if you could like and subscribe, it would really help me out. It costs you absolutely nothing and takes a fraction of a second and would make a huge difference to me and the channel. But anyway, on with that, we'll jump into this track and see what we've got. So, Maleficio De Sangre by Celtian, or Celtian, however it's pronounced. Let's have a look. Well, there you go. Maleficio De Sangre by Celtian. Very interesting. Some very unexpected elements going on in there. Now, at the beginning I said, they're a metal folk band heavily inspired by the likes of things like Illuvite and Cellar Darling. And you could sort of get those feelings from that piece of music. You could feel that sort of inspiration coming in. But the actual folk elements didn't play as strong a part in the overall music. It was still there. Because it opened with that sort of folk music sound, and then towards the end there was a lot more of it. But for the main sort of meat of the song, the violin and the flute weren't a dominant feature in the music. There wasn't as much folk in this particular track as, one might... if you hear folk metal band, you think folk predominantly with metal elements. This seems to be metal. Metal with folk elements. Moke? What the fuck was that? Anyway. So, the metal side of things tended to be the stronger presence in this music. Now, this could just be this particular track. I don't know. There might be other tracks by this band which are more folk-centric. But, like I said, this particular track, the heavy metal side was the dominant feature in the music. But that being said, it still sounded really good. The guitars sounded really chunky, really heavy. They sounded great. And of course there's the violin and the flute in there, and the guy looked like he was actually using a violin just like that one. Just like the same one that they used in My Dying Bride's videos as well recently. So, seems to be a popular style of violin. Anyway, it sounded really good. But then, the most surprising thing of all was our lead singer, Zana Levy, throwing in death metal growls. Where the fuck did that come from? I was not expecting that at all. Now, I've heard female vocalists doing death metal vocals before. That is not a surprise to me at all. It's a pretty standard thing. I'm used to hearing it. I didn't expect to hear it in this. You hear folk metal, you expect a sort of lighter vocal style, like was used throughout most of the song, sort of clean vocal style. But then, right in the middle, she throws out that death metal growl, and then towards the end of the song, there's like a bit of doubling with, I'm assuming it's her again, doing death metal growl vocals over the top of her clean vocals as well. I'm assuming it's her. There's a possibility it might be another member of the band doing the singing along, I don't know. But given that we saw her drop that death metal growl right in the middle of the piece of music, it makes me think that maybe they just sort of doubled her up with herself for that. So it was quite surprising and something quite interesting that you don't often see in this style of music. You look at sort of like the Norse folk metal bands, you hear that quite a lot. You look at, I can't even think of a band off the top of my head, but those sort of the Viking metal bands, you sort of get those death metal vocals with the folk elements. But with a band like this, where they're sort of inspired by bands like Illuvite and Cellar Darling, you don't get the death metal vocals very often. I think it's a possibility there might have been a couple thrown in Cellar Darling at one point. I could be mistaken, but I've got this vague recollection. But it was an interesting and unexpected surprise, and, it was performed brilliantly, and it mixed very, very well. It didn't overpower anything, and it certainly didn't detract from the piece of music. So yes, I quite like that. It was a very interesting, very unexpected, I've got an itchy eye. It was a very interesting, unexpected element. Now, the overall song, I like. It had a strangely jovial sound to it. I mean, adding a flute into music does tend to sort of lift a piece of music into that sort of area. You very rarely would hear a sort of a flute element in a more sort of darker piece of music, if you get my meaning. It is possible, but flute tends to add more levity. Levity, is that the word I'm looking for? It sort of elevates a piece of music rather than adds the sort of like minor sort of note sound to it. It's a very very light sound. So, you know, it had a rather jovial feel to it. It had quite a catchy rhythm to it. It sounded really good. I really like it. I really want to go and investigate this band further. But the actual song itself sounds quite, I wouldn't say dark, but it's quite possibly angry in a way, because it sounds like a woman scorned, basically, you know, because like I said, the song is called Blood Curse, and, you know, she's talking of love and innocence and betrayal, and then, you know, I curse you with my blood. So it sounds like, you know, there was a partnership, you know, she found and met someone, fell in love with someone, they had a wonderful time together, and then something's turned bad. That's what it sounds like. I was actually spending more time concentrating on the actual song in the video. I wasn't actually reading the lyrics along with the song for the entire time, so I haven't got the full picture. But the song goes, and again, like I said, this is a rough translation. If there is a mistake in here, I do apologise. I tried my best. But I think it gives a vague idea. It says, "Behind a great veil of promises of your love, my innocent heart slept, and so I got lost, dying to drink the honeys of your betrayal. Where was the oath of both being eternal, to share the taste of ambrosia of our love?" So, behind a great veil of promises of your love, my innocent heart slept. So, you know, you made these promises of love, you know, to keep me safe, to protect me, to love me, to adore me for eternity, sort of thing. But behind a veil of your promises, so it's like these were false promises. There's lies and betrayal there. He says, "So I got lost, dying to drink the honeys of your betrayal." So she was taken in by all these false promises, but in the background there was all these lies, and he was sort of disguising these lies and betrayal as truths and stuff like that. Where was the oath of both being eternal? You know, where was the promise that you gave me that you would love me forever, sort of thing? You know, where was all this? Where was this? You will always be with me. We'll always be together. Where was that promise? You know, you lied. You promised me those things, and now you've gone and out of vanity you will wake up in hell itself. There is no forgiveness for your soul anymore. Burn in the flames for the kiss that condemned you, and you will pay for your betrayal with a high price. I curse you with my blood. So there's no forgiveness for your soul anymore. You know, I can't forgive you for what you've done to me. You know, you've betrayed me, you have hurt me, you have scarred me irreparably. What you have done is just plain cruel, and I will never forgive you for that. You know, burn in the flames for the kiss that condemned you. You know, kind of like a Judas kiss, I suppose. You know, he gave her this kiss that was supposed to prove his undying love for her, but behind it he's thinking, you know, this is, you know, the intention behind it was really just fake. You know, he had no interest in keeping that relationship going. He just sort of turned around and gone, right, you'll do for now, essentially. And she's turned around, you know, you'll pay the price for your betrayal. I curse you with my blood. So she's like, yeah, you're fucked, mate. You know, there's no forgiveness for what you've just done. You'll never be able to see sunlight again. Say goodbye today. Lost in memory of your skin, I saw myself captive of your silent deception. And so I became an ingenue. I used to know what that meant. I can't remember. So, yeah, you'll never be able to see sunlight again. Say goodbye today. Lost in memory. So you're forever, you know, you're doomed. You're condemned to the darkest place on earth. You know, you are in the deepest of shit piles. You know, you'll never see the light of day again. You know, I'm going to destroy you for what you've done to me. I used to know what ingenue meant. I can't remember, and I can't be bothered to look it up right now. He couldn't see your intention. Where was our story? Where did the illusion go? Where was the everlasting essence of our love? So again, it says there, he couldn't see your intention. I think that might be a slight mistranslation, because I don't know what that could be. Where was our story? Where did the illusion go? Where was the everlasting essence of our love? So, you know, where did it all go? You know, you made me all these promises. You know, what happened? You know, why did you just decide to discard it so easily? Why did you so readily just throw it away and think nothing of it? You know, what did I mean so little to you? Was I so insignificant and unimportant to you that you could just think you could discard me and throw me away like that? You know, and she's basically saying, you know, you think you can just cast me away, be done with it, and carry on with your life, but I'm not letting that happen, and you're fucked, mate. You know, I'm going to absolutely destroy you. You know, you lied to me, you deceived me, you made me all these false promises, you led me into a false sense of security, and you basically just used me. I'm going to destroy you. And then it goes back into, I'm assuming it's the chorus, out of vanity you will wake up in hell itself, there is no forgiveness for your soul anymore. Burn in the flames for the kiss that condemned you, and you will pay for your betrayal with a high price. I curse you with my blood. You will never ever be able to see sunlight again. Say goodbye today. Boom. So yeah, it sounds like somebody who's really, really bitter at a loved one, betraying them, you know, giving them all these promises and then casting them aside, possibly for someone else. It doesn't specify that, you know, but it's a possibility, you know. Or he's just sort of gone, right, I got what I wanted from you, bye. You know, sounds like that sort of thing. And she's like, you think you can get away with it that easily? You are so wrong. You know, I'm going to absolutely ruin your life now. So, yeah, you know, it's got a story behind it, it's got a meaning behind it, you know, blood curse, you know, so she is cursing him, like, from the very depths of her soul, you know, she is like, I absolutely loathe you for what you've done to me. So, yeah, and, excuse me, anyway, so, you know, she's like, yeah, I really like the piece of music. Like I said, it was more on the metal side than the folk side, but like I said, this is the only track of theirs I've heard. I don't know whether there's more folk-centric tracks by this band, but off this one example, I would really like to hear more. So if anybody's familiar with this band, could you suggest me another track, you know, something that might contrast with this one, you know, something that might be more folk-centric, you know. I'd like to investigate more on this band, because, you know, I've always said I don't want to judge a band by just one single example of their music. Because, you know, this has actually happened to me in the past. You know, I've heard a song by a band and thought that song was great, then I've listened to the entire album and the rest of it was utter garbage. You know, so I'd like to get a wider idea of who the band are, because a band might release a song that I don't think is very good, but the rest of the album might be great. You know, it's good to get an idea of a band overall, rather than just hear one song and go, no, they're terrible, or yes, they're great. You know, you need more data, essentially, to make these conclusions. But from what I've heard in this track, they sound really, really good. Like I said, the music is very well performed. I like the way they've mixed the elements together. Her clean vocals, incredibly powerful, incredibly strong. She sounded great. Throwing in those death metal growls, even better. You know, that was just amazing. A wonderful surprise. Overall, an interesting and great piece of music. I really, really like it. And yes, I'm very intrigued to explore their music some more. So, like I said, if anybody can suggest another track by this band that might contrast to this one, please do. But I don't know what else I can say on that, so I will leave that as it is. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like or a subscribe if you haven't already, because it really, really would help me out. You know, I've been doing this for about, well, a little over 6 years now, and as it is, not even 2% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, and that's kind of disheartening, you know, because I like to think I bring something different than most other reactors do. You know, I actually talk about the songs, I talk about the lyrics, rather than just listening to it going, yeah, it's good, no, it's bad. You know, most other reactors don't actually talk about what the song is about, and that's something I like to do. I like to explore what the music is about. I like to explore the meanings, stories, morals behind music, and you know, I've not actually seen any other reactor that does that on a regular basis. You might on occasion get one or two that might do it occasionally, but you know, I like to know more about the music. I like to know the stories behind it. I like to know what drives the music, you know. So I thought that was something that people might enjoy talking about, thinking about. You know, I'd like to start that sort of discussion, what other people might think the song is about. But yeah, if people aren't liking and subscribing, my videos aren't getting suggested to people and then just sort of disappearing off into the ether, and that's kind of disappointing and disheartening. You know, I'm lucky if I get like 50 views on a video, you know. So if you could like and subscribe, it really, really would help me out. It costs absolutely nothing, and it takes a fraction of a second, and it would make the biggest difference to me and my channel. But that's all I've got for you today. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.